I think, again, you said Arizona and Nevada. They are definitely 1 and 2 in whatever order, and probably most reflective of the changing dynamic because of the age of those voters. They're so much younger.
Mm-hmm.
They're forming their political opinions that could sort of mold their voting pattern for the rest of their lives. And so reaching them now, however they do, could nail down that voter for decades to come. You and I are obsessed with and track the fact that in places like North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia to some extent, there are growing communities
Mm-hmm.
where when elections are being won by 1 or 2 points, 4 or 5 figures overall, making sure you're organizing in that community can help pad your results in one way or another. And it's not there yet, but I think both parties have to be conscious of the change that could come in Texas
Mm-hmm.
in the coming years, again, because of the age of the voter, who's moving into the state,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's changing. So, yeah, that would be it for me.
No, you're absolutely right, Ed, because, the assumption is the Latino voters are only in the Southwest. And yes, the size of the population is much larger in those states, obviously, historically. But like you said, in Wisconsin, it's one of the highest growing Latino populations in the whole country because of the economic opportunities that are there. Same thing in North Carolina. In North Carolina, Latinos make up 10% of that population, and in the South, Georgia also has an increase. Pennsylvania, where there was a key Puerto Rican vote that
Yep.
is there as well that helped decide the 2022 midterm cycle there because of the Roe v. Wade reversal. But it's my point being is that the Latino vote, and specifically the impact that it can have on this election, it permeates out of the Southwest and goes to these other places that we don't typically think of that are in the Rust Belt, that are in the Southeast, And I think I think you're seeing that more than ever before. I remember going to Iowa when we were there, and there were there were second generation Latinos there, who spoke with like a Midwestern accent. So I think that
And Bernie Sanders won the 2020
Yes.
caucus because he hired people who knew to go to Eastern Iowa, knew how to go to Eastern
Eastern
Iowa,
Iowa,
and
that's right.
find them, register them. And when you win by only a few hundred votes, as he did, his team could point to the fact that if we hadn't done that
Right.
and found them there. I mean, look, at this point, at least 40 of the 50 states have election influencing blocks of voters that can throw either statewide, large local, or federal elections.
Presidential.
Given the way they're
Yeah.
moving into the Midwest and the farming states,
Sure.
given the way they're moving into the Pacific Northwest, given the way they're definitely now in the Northeast and New England, they're omnipresent. They have to be accounted for.
How good a job are the two campaigns doing at this point in reaching out to those audiences?
Well,
I think they're trying hard. I think overall, I think the Biden campaign is doing I think a little more aggressive with their resources right now and trying to go to these battleground states, setting up an infrastructure there. The Trump campaign, they're behind and depleted on funds when it comes to fundraising, but their messaging has been targeted to Latinos as well. Both campaigns, however, emphatically know how crucial the Latino vote is in this election cycle. Not only the amount of money they're spending on ads for Spanish ads, English ads that target Latinos, Spanglish ads that we talked about, but they're also they talk about this. You see, they talk about Latino voters a lot on the trail. We saw the president going to Arizona and essentially asking for the help from the Latino community there, but I would just but the fact of the matter is that they are seemingly more up for grabs than we've ever seen them before at a presidential cycle. There was a Pew Research poll that came out just yesterday or earlier this week that showed that it was basically a 50 even, 44 for Trump, 52 for Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
It's close.
That explicit ask for help that the president made when he was in Arizona, the way he did it is a was a notably explicit acknowledgement. I need your help. You know, I've done what I can for you. Please help me out here. That he hasn't made to many other groups, and I think it's a sign that they understand. You have to show them some respect,
Yes.
but also, in essence, remind them, look, you can throw this thing one way or the other. If you're inclined to help me, please do.
Respect. That's the key word.
Yeah. And that's why I think by
big.
asking it the way he did,
Mhm.
it was a sign of respect. It was an acknowledgement that they are going to make the difference and make it happen, most likely.